Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. From our side, we have invested extensively in Greek opportunities in tourism, shipping, and aircraft leasing. We have a track record supporting Greek management teams achieve their growth plans. I want to talk less maybe in my opening remarks about the investments that we've done and more broadly about the availability of capital to Greece as I see it. Looking back, despite some well-known issues, and despite a very long recession, it's my view that Greece has actually managed to attract a share of foreign capital. That capital has been invested actually in the secondary market, in government bonds or shares of listed companies or the recapitalization of the banks. So it has not therefore resulted in meaningful GDP or credit growth or productivity gains for the Greek economy. Some investment, is true, has taken the form of FDI, but it has not yet been in scale. FDI is still in Greece a very small fraction of what it was 10 years ago and has been, I would say, concentrated primarily in sectors that are defensive in nature, such as infrastructure and tourism. So its impact has not been felt yet in the wider Greek economy. But my view is that there are a number of large projects in the pipeline with which Greece may observe some significant benefits in the future years. These projects, as we all know, tend to be long-ended, so it is important to be progressing on them swiftly, including privatizations, obviously. Now, looking ahead, in order for Greece to attract more FDI, I would think that it also needs to expand to more sectors. There are a number of prerequisites that investors would typically need. We need sustainable GDP growth, which many segments of the economy participate, not only a few, so that the recovery is not fragile. I think we need a resolution over time of some well-known impediments as far as investments go in Greece. And I would say that we also need further easing of the bank financing conditions. That helps the investors' rate of returns and improve IRRs, as we call them. So that's important. I think the companies that will benefit the most in the future will be the leaders, those companies that differentiate themselves with competitive advantages and have business plans that benefit from themes such as shortage of supply, sustainable demand, innovation, or return of consumption. And I would say, as has been said, that the NPL market, given its sheer size, shows also significant promise insofar that it will lead to investments in depreciated property, so FDI essentially going back to the country. Overall, I believe that capital is increasingly available to Greece. It will obviously take time to materialize, and it will continuously depend on such conditions being met. And just one related note here. I would like to raise the issue of the investable universe, and some speakers in panels before have spoken about this. This is the number of potential opportunities that investors can actually deploy capital to. And as we know, the backbone of the Greek economy is the small enterprise. It composes a very large fraction of the economy overall, much larger in comparison to other European markets. And unfortunately, most of these companies, for the typical, let's say, foreign investor, they're below the minimum capital requirements. And some, like ourselves and maybe CVC, as I mentioned, will spend the time and the resources to understand the theme, and will back the management teams and will back the owners to help them achieve their growth plans. But not typically all investors. They prefer to invest in larger companies. So I think in order for Greece to attract capital in a sustainable manner, we need the target market to grow. And by that, I think it is mostly up to the local stakeholders, the Greek entrepreneurs, the managers, the banks, to do the things that are necessary, such as, for example, mergers among themselves for some of these companies, to create the leaders that can compete in a global marketplace and attract foreign capital. And to that end, I think the initiative of EBRD, EIF, and the state to provide capital to local fund managers that look after these smaller companies is a very good idea. And it will help these SMEs to grow in the right direction. I think overall, investing in Greece, as we know, like any other country, has its own specificities. But investors today are ready to take a closer look at Greece. But demand for capital and competition for capital is global. So attracting foreign capital is a continuous process. It evolves together with the economy, and we need the economy to continue to grow, and it evolves together with policy. And from our side, just to wrap it up, we have spent the time to understand the Greek market, and we're ready to support Greek businesses. Thank you.
Which kind of businesses?
Well, as I mentioned, we've invested already in tourism, we've invested in shipping, and we've invested together with a management team in a global business that is aircraft leasing. So far, we have invested primarily in export-oriented or defensive, as I mentioned previously in my remark. Looking forward, I wouldn't exclude the possibility that we're prepared for the right managers and the right companies and the right themes to take some more of Greek risk than we have in the past.
Mrs. German, how rare and how fair it is that for EBRD to participate in a privatization process supporting one of the contestants? It was a surprise for us to see you as a stakeholder for one of the contestants.
To be fair, only one of them asked us.
Yes.
We never offer exclusivity. We made that very clear when we were talking to the consortium that we supported. We made it very clear to Taipei that we could not be exclusive because we should support more than one as long as people want us. We can't force ourselves on them. As it happened, the other consortium didn't approach us. I think looking at the 9 billion asset size of the consortium together, perhaps they didn't need our equity investment. But that's the truth of it. They didn't ask us.
But still, it is a very comforting process that to have a partner as you on the side, right?
Well, I'm very flattered that you think that we add so much comfort. The consortium we supported are a minnow in comparison to the other one. We were what we call additional. It's very important for EBRD not to squeeze out private capital. Mm-hmm. They needed what we were contributing. And I will repeat, we didn't offer exclusivity. Had the other consortium come to talk to us, we would have either gone with both, had the fund allowed us to do so, or we would have withdrawn. That wasn't the case. I think that what we should all remember is that because we did support the bid, there's been a good competitive process which ultimately will result in far better value for the Greek people.
Are you prepared to go in similar actions in the future for other privatizations?
Absolutely. I think it's now quite, I think most people know that we can do this. I would imagine the next time there's a privatization, perhaps more than one bidder would come to talk to us. And then we'll decide what to do.
Thank you. Mr. Fotakidis, it took you only 7 months to conclude your first, was it a management buyout? Well, no, it was a...
We acquired 60% alongside the CEO who took 20% and one of the co-founders who took another 20%.
So how is it, this 7-month period? Is it similar to other countries or the processes that you went through? Was it similar to what happens in other civilized countries?
The due diligence process at the end, so the last 3 months were similar, other than the company wasn't prepared for a transaction, so we had to do a lot of it from the start. But that we didn't mind because it was a good way of getting to know the company because we were in the company for several weeks. We had teams, both from CVC and our advisors, who were literally sitting next to management in their offices day to day. The key difference was the first 4 months of the macro in convincing people why we should invest in Greece when we wanted to. And this was before, we signed the transaction in March 17, we started in September 16. And actually on that, when we did a huge amount of analysis, we talked to all the investment banks, all the management consultants, experts, politicians, economists, and one of the, obviously the key question was, would there be a Grexit? And the conclusion that we came to, which hopefully is the right conclusion, is actually, if you look at the last 5 or 6 years, Greece has gone through an incredible refinancing exercise. So if you look in 2011, we had 300 billion of debt, and the cost of capital was approximately 4%, and the weighted average maturity of that debt for the country was 6 years, pretty short. In 2016, the cost of capital had been reduced to less than 2%, the blended cost of capital 1.8, so that's a 6 billion annual saving for the country.
Thank God for wrangling.
Yes, exactly. And the weighted maturity had been pushed out to 16 years. And so when you look at the country as a balance sheet, you think they've gone through this incredible refinancing exercise. And importantly, that 80% of that debt is now owned by the EU, effectively, either directly or indirectly, and of which 200 billion is actually owned by 5 governments: Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands. So we concluded that having gone through all that pain, the Europeans, in refinancing the economy, there is no chance that they would allow a bankruptcy and therefore a Grexit. And so we thought that having done all that hard work, it's going to turn, and we've seen it. It's early days, as I said, but so far our thesis on the macro has been correct.
You've raised the stakes quite high. Now I've talked to many doctors in ESO General, and now they're expecting much more. They expect you to spend much more money in investing in their own company. Are you prepared to pay? And they tell me that you are. They tell me that you have the money and you will pay because the prospects of the country and the industry and so.
We will pay. And I think in focusing on ESO General...
It's a smart thing to say.
No, I think...
That you are prepared to pay more than you offer originally?
No, it's not that. No. So specifically in ESO, as part of our investment proposal, we're buying the hospital outside of the group, but we've already committed, and when I went to my investment committee, I got approval for 7 million for the initial investment for equipment and refurbishment in 2018. The hospital is actually in, I would say, decent shape today, but you can tell that it has not been well invested. And healthcare, from our experience in Spain, where we were investing 50 to 75 million per annum, and similar in France, is a space you have to regularly invest. We're not going to get the returns that we want if we do not have a hospital network that has the state-of-the-art equipment, is well-functioning, also has the best doctors. I think we have the best doctors. We have some of the best European doctors in Greece. I think the Metropolitans already, we found a well-invested hospital that's and well-maintained. ESO will need at least 6 or 7 million in the first 12 months, but we are funding that ourselves today, and we're not relying on the banks because we want to move quickly. At the same time, and this is when we came in 2016, one of the first meetings I had in Athens was with Sabina, for her to get to know who CVC is and what we've done, and for the EBRD to start that dialogue. And actually we're talking to them and another Greek bank about providing a local financing for both hospitals, which will involve also capital expenditure and working capital lines for future growth. So we have a plan A, which is covered by CVC, and we're working on plan B.
Κύριε Λόγκο, έχετε το ωραίο προνόμιο να συνεργάζεστε με το ΤΑΙΠΕΔ. Και επειδή οι αποκρατικοποιήσεις θα είναι το βασικό κομμάτι των FDIs, των ξένων επενδύσεων στην Ελλάδα, πώς βλέπετε αυτή τη συνεργασία? Καταρχάς, έχετε απέναντί σας μια ομάδα πρόθυμη να επενδύσει, να πουλήσει, ή μια ομάδα που θέλει να σας δυσκολέψει τη ζωή?
Όχι, σε κάθε περίπτωση θα έλεγα ότι η εμπειρία είναι καλή. Το κάθε μέλος της ομάδας καταβάλει τη μέγιστη προσπάθεια, έτσι ώστε να φτάσουμε σε ένα επιθυμητό αποτέλεσμα. Αν δούμε ως παράδειγμα το ΔΕΣΦΑ, την αποκρατικοποίηση του ΔΕΣΦΑ και κοιτάξουμε τι έχει γίνει σε τι χρονικό διάστημα, δηλαδή ξεκίνησε η όλη διαδικασία κάποια στιγμή τον Ιούνιο με την πρόσκληση εκδήλωσης ενδιαφέροντος και φτάσαμε να πάρουμε δεσμευτικές προσφορές κάποια στιγμή στα μέσα Φεβρουαρίου και σε όλο αυτό το διάστημα... Ευχαριστώ. Ευχαριστώ. Νομίζω ότι η προσπάθεια η οποία το ΤΑΙΠΕΔ και η ομάδα του ΤΑΙΠΕΔ κατέβαλε ήταν, θα έλεγα, υπερπροσπάθεια. Έτσι. Άλλαξε ένα θεσμικό πλαίσιο που είχε να κάνει με τις ταρίφες, έτρεξε μια διαδικασία με vendors due diligence και οτιδήποτε χρειάζεται σε μια τυπική διαδικασία αποκρατικοποίησης, αλλά θα έλεγα πως η εμπειρία μόνο θετική είναι. Σίγουρα είναι πάρα πολύ δύσκολη η θέση τους, είναι όλα τα φώτα επάνω. Κοιτάνε ξένοι επενδυτές, κοιτάνε οι θεσμοί, τα υπουργεία εμπλέκονται, η κεντρική κυβέρνηση σε κάποιο βαθμό επηρεάζει τις διαδικασίες και βρίσκεται μέσα στις διαδικασίες, αλλά μόνο θετική μπορώ να πω ότι ήταν η προσπάθεια.
Η κεντρική κυβέρνηση δεν έκανε ακριβώς ό,τι έπρεπε, δυσκόλεψε την κατάσταση. Μιλάω για τις προηγούμενες αποφάσεις άλλων υπουργών, για τις ταρίφες κτλ. Δεν είναι?
Θα έλεγα ότι είμαι 18 χρόνια στην αγορά και κάνω και ως investment banker έχω εμπλακεί σε αποκρατικοποιήσεις τα τελευταία 18 χρόνια. Θα έλεγα ότι πάρα πολλές φορές μια διαδικασία πώλησης ταράζει τα νερά εντός εισαγωγικών. Καλούμαστε να αλλάξουμε πώλησης τα οποία υπάρχουν και ορίζονται από κεντρικές κυβερνήσεις, οπότε είναι, θα έλεγα, φυσιολογικό ως διαδικασία αυτό.
Sabina, what is your impression? Because you've been working with a lot of administrations in Taipei, so you see the circle. How is it working with Taipei, Hellenic Republic Asset Development Fund?
Well, I'm not sure we've been working with that many different administrators. We've always had a very good relationship. I think this is the first privatization we probably could have been involved with. These take a long time. So, you know, we haven't been around that long. I found them very professional, dedicated, committed. And, you know, as I say, we were pleased to help out on this occasion. Of course, we'd like all of our hard work to result in a transaction, but I'll repeat, it was a two-horse race, which is bound to be more competitive than if there's only one.
Would you care to elaborate on EBRD's next investments or next projects in Greece, please?
We've got a fairly decent pipeline. I think we'll continue to, obviously we'll continue to work with the banks if they've got covered bonds or securitizations. We're looking at non-bank securitizations. We have a number of corporate loans. We'll probably do a few more bonds on the local market. What else have we got in the pipe? Things obviously I don't want to talk about yet. We'd like to do more equity. I think there's probably a need for equity. There's plenty of equity funds with a lot more experience than we have, but some of them might take a bit of comfort from us being there alongside. So we're open to suggestions. We've got property and tourism. We did our first investment in a property company, Demand. We're looking at some tourism businesses. We'd like to help reposition. I think there's lots of opportunities in the NPL market, which we'd like to support because that in turn helps the banks come back to full strength.
Thank you. Mr. Spyropoulos, where does your money come from?
From a variety of sources. Oaktree Capital is a listed entity, so everything is transparent and documented. It includes pension funds from all over the world, sovereign wealth funds, some high net worth individuals. It's a variety of sources.
Well, we see the tendency now, the interest rates going up. That makes it a little more difficult for you to take risks in small economies. So do you think there is such a risk now that the interest rates are going up?
Well, I think we have to differentiate, I would say, between the US and Europe. In the US, it is true, there is a track record established and we expect that interest rates will go up. I think in Europe, you saw the latest on inflation numbers. It is not clear yet that the interest rates will increase in the short term. I think for us, it is a different issue, actually. The issue is that valuations globally have inflated as a result of very low interest rates compared to historical standards. So it takes very high confidence and conviction to enter into a transaction at the valuation levels that we're observing in the world today. Greece has a benefit, one could say, that from an investor's standpoint, I want to clarify that one could argue that it's still at the initial stages of an up market. So that adds some confidence to it, but also it adds a lot of risk because still we haven't observed what I mentioned before, the sustainable GDP growth that would get us have more confidence.
Okay, now we have the privilege, each one of you, to have a concluding remark of no more than 2 minutes each. This is your last word. I'm a journalist, but I will not say the last word. I'll let you do it.
Well, I think I'll repeat what I said on the panel this morning, which was I really do feel as though Greece has turned a corner. It's been an interesting couple of years since I came in autumn 2015. So I think we are turning a corner. I think what we want to see now is more optimism from Greek companies to start bringing forward their investment plans, the things that have been shelved because they've been in survival mode, and to think out of the box more and to see how they can develop more, employ more, and really help the Greek economy recover at a pace greater than that we've seen in last year.
So you've seen things changing.
Not the last one.
Yes, but you've seen things change since the October of 2015 when he came.
Yes, I think we've all seen things change. I mean, even if it's only that you get a receipt on the table within 5 seconds if you buy a coffee in Athens. That wasn't the case in 2015. But no, there's been lots and lots of changes, and it's feeling a much more positive place.
Κύριε Φωτακίδη.
In my mind, I think the next phase, and it follows on from Sabina's comments, I think we've been through austerity. I think we're in recovery now. And I think the government has to look closely at how it can make the local market as competitive as other European countries, and probably where we need to start. And we talked a lot about bureaucracy and the judicial system, so I won't cover that. But taxation in particular, I think now is starting to harm companies, because what we found in the companies we've invested in here, we found fantastic professionals, and we want to incentivize them. And even but when we want to pay them more, actually, they're not really that interested and excited, because the marginal benefit that accrues to them is minimal. We had a case of a CFO who had done a fantastic job in 2017, and we wanted to give him a significant pay rise. And he came back and said, well, actually, I don't think it's worth it for the company.
Yes, and he gives the money to Chakalotos then.
Exactly. So I think we need to, that's something that we have to change. We have to make the tax system much more competitive to continue to also to attract workforce from abroad to come back. It's going to be incredibly important for the success of the recovery.
Tell me your next target, your investment target.
We have several targets, and so to Spyros' point, in terms of it is a competitive environment. We're now seeing more investors looking at the space, and so we actually have targets in Athens, in other cities in Greece. We're also looking at markets in adjacent markets around Greece.
Κύριε Λόγκο, τη δικιά σας πολύχρονη εμπειρία.
Νομίζω ότι στο βασικό ερώτημα πώς μπορούμε να κατευθύνουμε ξένες άμεσες επενδύσεις στην πραγματική οικονομία, νομίζω ότι πρέπει να αλλάξουμε πολλά. Πρέπει να αλλάξουμε πολλά εμείς οι ίδιοι. Έτσι. Είναι πολλά τα προβλήματα του ελληνικού επιχειρηματικού κόσμου και πολλές φορές κάνουν πάρα πολύ δύσκολη τη ζωή ξένων επενδυτών, όπως είναι και η CVC και η Oaktree, να πάνε στα investment committee τους και να ζητήσουν επένδυση στην Ελλάδα. Το πρώτο και βασικό νομίζω ότι είναι το μέγεθος. Έτσι. Η διάρθρωση του επιχειρηματικού κόσμου είναι προβληματική. Έχουμε μικρές και πολύ μικρές επιχειρήσεις. Το 99,9%, εντάξει, υπερβάλλω, το 99% είναι εταιρείες οι οποίες δύσκολα μπορούν να κάνουν attract ενδιαφέρον από ξένους μεγάλους επενδυτές. Είναι δύσκολο να τις δουν, είναι δύσκολο να διαχειριστούν αυτές τις επενδύσεις. Άρα, πρόβλημα πρώτο, το είπε λίγο, το άγγιξε ο Σπύρος, χρειάζεται consolidation. Έτσι. Πρέπει με κάποιο τρόπο να τα συγκεντρώσουμε αυτά. Να αρχίσουμε να έχουμε στόχους που είναι ευδιάκριτοι και απ' έξω. Το δεύτερο πράγμα, το οποίο είναι μεγάλη δυσκολία, είναι το NPL stock το οποίο υπάρχει στα SMEs. Αυτή τη στιγμή τα NPL exposures είναι στο 60 με 70%. Όταν μιλάμε για μικρομεσαίες εταιρείες, αυξάνεται όσο κατεβαίνουμε σε μέγεθος εταιρείας. Προφανώς πρέπει να βρεθεί μια λύση εκεί. Είναι δύσκολο για ξένους μεγάλους επενδυτές να μπουν, να κάνουν το restructuring και να γυρίσουν NPLs αυτής της διάστασης σε τόσο μικρά μεγέθη εταιρεών. Θέλει πολλή προσπάθεια και δεν ξέρω αν μπορούν να ξοδέψουν το χρόνο για κάτι τόσο μικρό να το κάνουν. Το τρίτο και βασικό είναι οι αποτιμήσεις, το είπε πριν ο κύριος Σταθόπουλος. Αυτή τη στιγμή οι αποτιμήσεις στην Ελλάδα βρίσκονται πάρα πολύ χαμηλά, έτσι, πολύ χαμηλότερα σε σχέση με ευρωπαϊκές αγορές. Ο δείκτης PE είναι στο 10-12 στην Ελλάδα, στην Ευρώπη μιλάμε για 17, στην Αμερική μιλάμε για 20. Άρα οι υφιστάμενοι μέτοχοι το να καταλήξουν και να δεχτούν την αρέωση σε χαμηλές αποτιμήσεις είναι κάτι το οποίο βλέπω ότι δεν είναι τόσο πρόθυμοι να κάνουν, παρότι χρειάζονται τα κεφάλαια. Και σίγουρα όταν πάμε να δούμε σε τελική ανάλυση μια μέση ελληνική εταιρεία, το επίπεδο της μόχλευσης που βρίσκεται μια μέση ελληνική εταιρεία είναι πολύ υψηλότερο από αυτό στην Ευρώπη. Άρα, αν βάλουμε τους 4-5 παράγοντες αυτούς, νομίζω ότι δυσχεραίνουν πάρα πολύ την προσέλκυση ξένων επενδύσεων. Τι πρέπει να κάνουμε? Κατάλληλες δομές. Κατάλληλες δομές, πρέπει να μεγαλώσουν οι εταιρείες μας, πρέπει να κάτσουμε μαζί οι επιχειρηματίες, πρέπει να φτιάξουμε τα πράγματα και να ξεκινήσουμε από λευκή κόλλα χαρτί. Δομές και μορφές επένδυσης που ταιριάζουν στην Ελλάδα.
Mr. German, did you speak Greek before you came to Greece?
Well, not before I first came to Greece in 1975, no. But I did learn it when I worked as a rep on an island back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Oh,
ναι.
okay.
Οι κότες μου μάθανε τα ελληνικά.
Οι κότες?
Ναι.
Okay.
Δούλευε στην ΚΟ.
Okay. So, Spyros, you have the floor for, you are the last speaker, so you are the wisest of all.
Okay, great. Thank you. Like I said, we observe that Greece is in initial stages of our recovery. Our expectation and hope is that this recovery will take a sustainable form where many segments of the economy will participate, and we hope and we expect that the local stakeholders will show increased appetite for risk. Then we can come in and support them, their business plan, and their businesses. That's it from me.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, ελπίζουμε να ήμασταν χρήσιμοι και ευχάριστοι. Καλημέρα σας.